What's up, Blockchain Nation? Thank you for taking time to watch this video. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button and let's get into this. Just to reiterate, if you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. It helps us to be found. That being said, let's talk about the just recently concluded Bitcoin conference of 2022. I think this conference only gets better and better and better every single time. Once again, it was in Miami. It held in Miami just like last year. So one of the big highlights was the Bitcoin, the all-powerful reveal of the great Bitcoin bull, which is synonymous to a very popular statue on Wall Street. So this is just kind of synonymous to that, saying that Bitcoin is the new currency, is how that Wall Street is the epicenter capital of the world when it comes to finance. Miami is trying to establish itself as the epicenter when it comes to cryptocurrency, which I think is very, very interesting. And the governor of Miami is very, very bullish on Bitcoin. Anyway, that being said, take a look at this all-star conference. I mean, everybody was here. We have Michael Saylor, we have Saifedean Amus, who is the author of the Bitcoin Standard, Dr. Adam Back, who was very involved in Bitcoin Core, Jack Mallers, Yomi Park, who I'm not sure what her background is, someone I should take a look at. This is Cathy Wood, this is Jordan Peterson, Peter Thiel, Anthony Pompliano, the list goes on and on. Of course, all-powerful, almighty, professional tennis player, venture capitalist, boss lady, Serena Williams. So here I just want to talk about my highlights or what I think. Looking at this Bitcoin conference, if you go to Bitcoin Magazine, and you see the entire Bitcoin 2022 conference, and there's so much great things. But I'm just going to highlight 10 talks that I looked at that I think are that you should, if you can watch everything, great, but I think you should take a look at these 10 talks. And I'll start with what I thought was just simply amazing, which was this boss lady, Serena Williams, and of course Aaron Rodgers and Odell Beckham Jr., who are extremely bullish on Bitcoin, and they're also athletes as well. I thought this was a great talk.
That's been a really good portfolio company for us as well. So it's a lot happening in the cryptocurrency world, and obviously I think it's all being led by Bitcoin. Cool.
That's what our take was on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, and that was our anyways. Won't bother to delve into all the details, but it's really, really good. This is Odell Beckham Jr., who was a professional athlete at one time, was collecting his entire pay in Bitcoin. Of course, Aaron Rodgers, he gave a very good example of how he takes advice from different people, and how he had the Bitcoin fanatics talking to him about Bitcoin. Then he had the people who were very not so bullish on Bitcoin, like the financial advisor of this world, and telling him that Bitcoin was definitely not something he shouldn't get involved in. But he got involved in anyway, which I think was very phenomenal. That's what I try to do. I like to hear different perspectives. Like if you look at this, I digress. I listen to Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey says, cut your credit cards, get out of debt, blah, blah, blah. He's one extreme when it comes to personal finance. But then I have another extreme, which is Robert Kiyosaki, who pretty much says left something very different from what Dave Ramsey says. But I listen to a lot of them, both of them anyways, just to get perspective and just to have different perspectives, so I can come up with my own conclusion. So that's pretty much something that he mentioned, Aaron Rodgers, how he had different advice from different people, but he still concluded that Bitcoin was a good investment, which I think is very powerful. When you do that, you become bulletproof to whatever anybody has to say about what you believe in. Just my personal opinion. I just to add that. He also mentioned how even if you can't buy cryptocurrency, it's always good for you to, if you can't buy a whole Bitcoin, which is about $40,000 at the time I'm recording this, you can always stack sats. I love that. Stacking sats, which are fractions of Bitcoin. Another cool talk was by Peter Thiel, who is a very successful billionaire businessman, early investor in Facebook.
Internet-enabled cell phones are just getting rolled out right now. They already have some significant penetration in Japan, in Finland, in Sweden. They're getting rolled out in Western Europe, the US next year. The numbers are projected to grow from about 10 million internet-enabled cell phones today to about 1 billion in 5 years. In 5 years from now, everybody who is a member of the middle class in the emerging world and in the developed world will have an internet-enabled cell phone.
So that's Peter Thiel. He was referencing a talk, obviously this was decades ago, when he was talking to people about the emergence of the next technology, which about how about cell phones and how that was going to change technology, how it's going to change the way we live. And this was such a long time ago. People probably thought it was crazy then, but look at how his predictions, quote unquote, came through now, which I thought was very profound. And he kind of had some he drew some similarities between that. I was going in Bitcoin. Obviously, this is him today, talking about Bitcoin. So I'm wondering if this talk that he now does recently is 10 years from now, people look back and go, wow, this is this guy who talked about Bitcoin and this is where Bitcoin is, which I think is very, very profound. So this is also definitely something worth watching. Yeah, this is definitely a good one.
1999,
yeah.
But I thought I'd reflect on some of the things I was thinking at the time, give some perspective on what it means for the world today of 2022.
Anyway, well, that's a good one. I thought that was a very good one. So anyways, so that was him talking now, and he was reflecting back about before. Now, this is not a talk, but this is more of Jack Mallers, who's the CEO of Strike, and he was talking about how he was using a payment demo, about how you can use Bitcoin or use the Lightning wallet to make payments for pretty much anything anywhere around the world.
Let's go!
So let me just play that.
We're in sunny Chicago. We're gonna walk into a grocery store and buy some Coke over Tor. A card network is not going to process this transaction. Bitcoin's open monetary network is going to process this transaction. Let's go! Hello.
Hey.
Can I check out each of these separately? Sure. I'll do the Coke first. Let's buy some Coke over Tor, ladies and gentlemen. Boom.
Anyway, so as opposed to using our traditional payment systems like Visa, like MasterCard, he talked about a new network that he's worked on called Tor, where you can process transactions over Lightning and also over that infrastructure, over the Tor framework, which is very exciting that we can remove ourselves from the traditional payment rails. Because as much as we do cryptocurrency, the on and off ramps, which is using your fiat currency to buy crypto, but Bitcoin still boils down to using existing frameworks like Visa and MasterCard, but now you can use Tor.
Open payment standard. This grocery store is showing an open payment standard to receive dollars in their cash register. I could use any Lightning wallet I want. I'm gonna go with Zap, which is connected to my Lightning node running over Tor at my house. So I simply hit send, scan the QR code, confirm by entering my PIN, and Bitcoin is leaving my node over Tor as dollars enter her cash register. Boom. I'll go with Peanuts next. Shout out Peanuts if you know, you know.
Well, next is Dr. Saifuddin Amus, who is the encyclopedia for Bitcoin. To me, the people who I listen to that I've learned a lot from in this space, and I'm wondering why he's not at this conference, is the great almighty Andres Antonopoulos, who is one of the most exciting people to listen to when it comes to Bitcoin.
About the high cost of Bitcoin. Bitcoin takes up too much electricity. Well, what about the cost of fiat? Not a lot of people ask that question because they're just used to it. They think it's just costless, it's provided by government. But it does have a cost.
So this is a good talk also by Saifuddin Amus. I won't play it in entirety, but definitely want to check this out. He's the author of the Bitcoin Standard. And yeah, as you can see, Dr. Amus is very outspoken about Bitcoin. You can't have a Bitcoin conference without having the great Michael Saylor. And I like it when they put him and Cathy Wood together. But this is Michael Saylor and Cathy
And so I think we're both half of the coin. And that's why I was excited to talk with you today. So in my mind, I got three main areas. The political, macroeconomic, regulatory environment, what's going on there in the next year to 2 years.
I won't play it in detail, but there's something that he said that I think was so powerful. About how people are always so, what's the word I'm looking for, maximist when it comes to Bitcoin. Oh, Bitcoin is going to replace the dollar. Bitcoin is going to wipe out this evil government. And he has this perspective of why come from that perspective when you can present Bitcoin as really what it is. It's just really a hedge against inflation. And if you can get institutional investors, if you can explain it to them, if you don't come out so maximalist, it'd be a great way to get adoption into Bitcoin, which I thought was great. So anyways, well, that was a good one. All right, last few ones is onboarding institutions, coming back to the institutional piece, which is why it's very, very important, in my opinion, that big players, some of them are already getting involved. Obviously, we have major financial institutions, I believe like Goldman Sachs, like JP Morgan, who are looking into Bitcoin. And once I know Jamie Dimon, who was the CEO of Goldman Sachs, who was very anti-Bitcoin. Now he's more pro-Bitcoin. And so it's great to have institutions buying into Bitcoin. I mean, that institutional adoption will pay us. When I mean us crypto lovers, and it will obviously shoot the price to the moon. So next is Nick Sabo. Nick Sabo is one of the contributors to Bitcoin Core, and he talks about pioneers of the years before Bitcoin, and he has some interesting insights about that. Nick Sabo might be Satoshi Nakamoto. Look at this, NS, right? Nick Sabo, SN, Satoshi Nakamoto. I've done a video about that, right here, who the the people who I suspect might be Satoshi, and he's one of them. He might be. He was a very early adopter of
So I'm
Bitcoin.
going to talk today about some of the dreams and ideas that I believe influenced Bitcoin, and show you the faces of people who came up with those dreams and ideas. And it ranged from high-tech libertarian daydreaming to applying the latest in computer science to bring to life, to reify libertarian dreams such as depoliticizing money, non-violently enforcing contracts, and so on. And so a couple of the core ideas that
Yeah, he talks about a lot of stuff. Talks about Austrian economics, and somebody who's also big on Austrian economics, back to Saifuddin Hamas, who's the Bitcoin standard guy. He talks about the interesting ideas around Bitcoin and philosophy behind it, which I think was also a good talk. All right, last few ones is the great, the almighty, the scholar, the bright mind, the genius himself, Mr. Jordan Peterson. When people like Jordan Peterson start talking about Bitcoin, honestly, you need to just forget everything you're doing, forget every argument, and get involved. This man is a very interesting, very smart, very respectable individual, and he's done a lot around recent videos. If you go to his YouTube channel, talking about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, and he's looked into it, and he believes that he has some very great insights. Let me not quote him about Bitcoin, if that thing will just disappear. And I think it's something that you should definitely listen to.
That you've ventured into Bitcoin fairly recently, and we want to ask you all about that. I'm really eager to do that. But I thought before we do that, I thought of asking you a few questions about some things that I think a lot of people here can relate to about your background. And the first thing I thought of was to ask you about entrepreneurship, because this place is brimming with it. 10 years ago, almost none of the companies that you can see here at the conference existed. And so entrepreneurship really runs deep in the Bitcoin space. And for a person...
Very, very powerful. Anyways, I mean, just even talking about how the moderator is pitching this question to Jordan Peterson, and it just brings me to how there's so many things that are going on in the crypto space in terms of how different platforms and different companies are evolving. It's kind of like the days of Web 2.0 when we had pets.com, we had Google, we had Facebook, and look at how those companies have emerged today. And now in this new generation, the way Bitcoin adoption is 10 times, 100 times faster than internet adoption or mobile phone adoption. So I can just imagine the kind of companies that will explode, you know. So it's exciting to see what's going to come out of that. Last few ones is Global Bitcoin Adoption, Bitcoin 2022 conference, and it just highlighted what it would look like for Bitcoin to be adopted all around the world, and having perspectives of different people around the world. But obviously, people who live in the United States might look at Bitcoin different from how people that are different parts of the world. In the US, you have your dollar, but other countries that have to use Bitcoin as a hedge against inflation because their currency is toilet paper. It's a different argument from those who live in the US. Also, billionaire capital allocators. This is also a good one. So this is the Bitcoin magazine. Take your time to look through this. If there are some very interesting talks that you think I did not highlight, that you think is worth watching, please leave your comments below. And yeah, hopefully, I said this last year that when I did the video about the 2021 conference, that I'll be there in 2022. Fortunately, I couldn't make it this year. I'm hoping that one day I'll probably make it. So I don't want to say I'll be there next year and not make it. You know, I don't want to jinx that. But yeah, that's all I have. I mean, if you watch this conference, I'm telling you, you want to sell every single thing that you have and go and buy Bitcoin. Not saying you should, because I don't give you financial advice. That would be stupid, taking financial advice from some guy on YouTube. Anyways, that's all I have. So till next time, my wish for you is that you learn more about Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is changing and will change the world, especially in this finance space. And in my personal opinion, those who get involved early will greatly impact the future. And if that is you, then let's go change the world.